this is probably the most requested thing that we talk about is this whole thing about the chargebacks. So, Federico, in your opinion, you kind of explain why you kind of understand why they're doing it,
Hmm.
but how do you feel people should be addressing it, given that that's the situation now?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna share this, and I do need to hop off. Sorry about that. But I'm gonna share my thoughts if that's okay, and hop off the call. But the way that I see chargebacks is part of the business. Like every business has a cost of doing business that you need to kind of like bake into your budget and your projections and everything. And you know that you may have a chargeback a year or two or whatever it is, and then it's a business process. Like hosts have chargebacks, um, sellers of anything have chargebacks, restaurants have chargebacks, anyone can have a chargeback. So you need to build a plan for that. Because dealing with chargebacks is like dealing with taxes, dealing with whatever you're dealing. It's kind of like the risk you take when you're processing payments. And again, I think we got accustomed to having Daddy Airbnb taking care of that for
Daddy.
us. But the reality is that you're doing a business, you're exposed to chargebacks in general. That being said, uh, you need to have an SOP in place to deal with chargebacks. Number one, how do you prevent chargebacks? What type of verification are you doing? Because there's a reality that hospitality and travel tend to be high risk because chargebacks are easier for two reasons. Number one, hosts are not experienced, and number two, you can book last minute stay at the property and then do a chargeback, and there's nothing that you can do about it, right? So it is a high risk business. Actually, I have every one of my clients, because I don't take the payments, have a Stripe account for their own properties, and I had a chargeback for the first time since I launched this company, and I started working with Hostaway, which was November last year, and it was the first booking, so that account immediately got suspended because first booking chargeback, is a high risk. We're also reinstated, which tends to be pretty difficult, but I'm dealing with the chargeback now. But because I have a rental agreement from the guest that they had to sign and put an ID, and using Happy Guest, shout out to Happy Guest crew, that gives me protection because I can show guest communication, I can show a rental agreement, I can show different documentation to show this person stay at the property, they booked the alleged stay, and they agreed to the rate. Another thing that I do, for example, because when you're working in processing payments, people create their Stripe account and they put a random name into their descriptor, right? Which is the what it shows in your credit card statement, and they put, I don't know, your LLC name or whatever it is, which is nothing, has nothing to do with the state. So
Red
something
flag.
I did is I have an automated message for each one of my Stripe accounts that when you book BRBO or direct that's going to go through Stripe, you get a message that tells you you're going to find in your credit card statement this descriptor. Please, if you have any questions before calling your bank, let us know. Because what we're facing in the beginning is that a lot of people didn't recognize the charge and were calling their bank, and we're having a lot of like early fraud detections. But by implementing that message, people start to recognize the charge on the credit card, especially because the way that we set up the charges are not all at once. We charge 20% before um, uh, refundable when it's in a refundable period, and we charge 80% when it's not refundable. Because, sorry, if a guest cancels when when it's refundable, you still pay the transaction fees. So we only charge a small percentage of the booking. But again, they're gonna see that sometimes if they book within the 30 days, it's gonna be two charges simultaneously, different amounts. If I see that in my credit card and I don't recognize the item, I'm gonna call my bank. So again, you need to set up all of these processes to make sure that you are safe, that your guest is educated on what they're purchasing, and then if it happens that you have a chargeback, number one, how you're gonna deal with it, and number two, at the end of the day, you need to understand yourself and then educate your clients. If you have property management company, that is a risk that you have when doing business and taking bookings, where you're liable for the payments. And the other thing I want to mention is like something that we implemented is we have 3DS um, verification activated in Stripe. 3DS is when you put a credit card online, for example, and it sends you a text message to your phone. because it's not only chargebacks that people are just saying, I didn't like the place and I want my money back. You're dealing with fraud. That's what high risk is, because again, I steal a credit card, I book for tonight, I book a plane for tonight. No one, and once the credit card holder realizes I already used the stay, used the flight, and that's why it's high risk. So by having a 3DS security implemented in our process, in our payments, when someone is doing a fraud booking, it will automatically send a text message to the credit card holder, the credit card owner, and that removes the liability from us and puts the liability into the credit card issuer in all the chargebacks, right? And this is something you can activate on Stripe under Radar. You have to pay for, like, it's a small percentage, but it gives you that peace of mind that you are protected. So again, I don't know how the Airbnb chargeback policy is going to apply overall, but I think people have to be prepared where your guests are signing something, they're agreeing to the stay, have your house rules mentioning something about chargebacks and your rate agreed and something like that, and you're not going to refund anything if something this and this happens, and having all that prepared, because when it comes to a chargeback dispute, you're going to have to upload a ton of documentation, and it can be win. You can win a chargeback, but you have to have the documentation, the right documentation in place. So yeah, that is my take on chargeback situation.
Yeah, Federico, that's actually our last question. I'm going to go to Mike, but before you hop off, where can people find? Feel free to shout out your website and IG, etc., for people who want more of you or who want to do business with you potentially.
Yeah, appreciate that, Elijah. And thank you for having me here today. This is a fun conversation, and we can do it again. But people can find me on federico.zimerman on Instagram. I used to have a different handle that was STR Guide, may come up. And then my property management company is blackbirdhm.com, hospitality management, or revenue management services. If you only want us to take care of your pricing, is revfactor.io. So yeah, that's how people can find me around. So yeah.
Awesome. All right, we appreciate you hopping on. I know you got to hop off, but yeah,
Yeah.
y'all be sure to check out his website, and he drops a lot of game on IG too. And so definitely follow him on IG.
Mostly present over there. Thank you guys. Appreciate you having me here, and it was fun, a lot of fun. So I hope that I was able to provide some value.
Most definitely. I'll catch you later.
See ya.
So Mike, what's your opinion on the chargebacks and how should people be dealing with them? I think Federico did lay a pretty good foundation.
But predominantly reuse QuickBooks because they do have a chargeback protection program. We don't have to submit any documentation up to a dollar amount, depending on what threshold you choose. And so between that, other payment processors, I'm not sure if the 3DS that he's talking about, I know he mentioned it's probably a certain percentage extra on your payment processing fee. If that is just a flag or if it's truly protecting you, meaning if you get the charge back, they don't take the money. Because if you've been in experience a chargeback before, essentially what happens is if it's one of those three reasons that Federico mentioned, it's technically six different reasons that it could be for, but three are the main ones. Or there's three main ones. Is essentially if someone does a chargeback for whatever fee that is, it could be for, and typically it's for the whole reservation. They basically take that money out of your account first, and then they ask questions later. So let's just say you had a $3,000 booking. It could be, let's say a month-long booking. Usually it's shorter stays. The way I've seen it before in the past and with others, it's usually stays that are 7 days or less. And I guess some clear red flags to look out for is either same-day bookings or even day before bookings. And I would even caution on 2 day before bookings as well, especially if it's happening before the weekend, because the bank isn't going to catch that till the next business day, right? So all some things to keep in mind. But typically what happens is they take that money directly out of your account, and then you have so many business days to then provide all the documentation to then dispute that. Now, yes, if that's actual protection or if it's kind of a flag so that when you do get the charge initially and it flags it, then you can do further investigation and with the guest or whatnot. But if it's not, we've definitely been in scenarios before where we've won those chargebacks. We've definitely had some scenarios where we have not won the chargebacks. Um, and in my opinion, at least from what we've seen, it doesn't matter what kind of documentation you have. It's up to the bank because it is the bank's decision on whether or not you win or lose that dispute. I'll give you a quick example. I know we're running out of time here, where we literally had everything that Federico mentioned. We had the rental agreement signed. We had the photo ID. We even had, because we were using ID verification software, the selfie that the person took as well. We
Wow.
had the IP address listed out because it was through Stripe. We even had the door lock notification showing that they checked in, checked out, the communications, and even the camera images. We sent them everything. Um, Something else we sent too, but I can't recall. But literally, we gave them the Holy Grail, right? And we still lost the dispute. So, I mean, you got to think about it. Even us as smaller operators, mid-sized operators, the big companies deal with this too. Airline companies, they lose chargebacks too. So there's literally nothing you can do additional that they are not doing, that we are doing on our end as well. It's literally up to the bank. So just something to keep in mind. And a lot of things. One of the things that happen with these processors as well is if you get too many of these, one is they'll hold a certain percentage of your income every time you get a payout. Sometimes they can hold up to 60 days, 90 days, or they can suspend your account indefinitely, which means now you have to create a whole new business, another LLC, and a whole new entity so you can create a new Stripe account to then receive funds because otherwise you won't be able to. Um, a really quick story, and gratefully it's not one of my own, but a good operator that I know. He has a larger portfolio than I do. He had about $120,000 locked up in his Stripe account because of chargebacks,
Oh,
and they held that money for 90 days. So talk about restriction on your cash flow and everything else in the business. That could literally kill your business if you're not prepared for that. So something to be aware of for small operators, large operators, you name it. Um, and the same goes Airbnb too, right? In this case, they're just going to withhold that from future payouts. But if you're expecting those funds, and again, that doesn't necessarily have to happen right after a stay, right? This could happen months after a stay, worst case scenario. So you're really not expecting it. So anyway, just be prepared for that. Put things in place. There's a lot of new features coming out with guest verification, ID verification, and rental agreements. Definitely use those to your advantage. And yeah, that's all I got.